Every spring, when I was a kid in elementary school, we would have a week called TV Turn Off Week. The goal of which was to get kids playing, moving, and interacting more by avoiding TV, video games, and computer games. It didn't seem like any of the kids really loved TV Turn Off Week, and it did feel a little forced, but in my opinion, the goals of TV Turn Off Week were good goals, and they were much easier to achieve when stepping away from screens. It upsets me that doing a TV turn-off week today would be so difficult or impossible for so many. Though I'm glad we have this technology, it feels like we are stuck with it. I wanted to prove to myself that I could temporarily distance myself from screen devices, so I decided to do my own type of TV turn-off week, or what I am calling a screen-free week. I specifically chose to do it this past autumn because the timing was right, and I also just felt hyper-connected in general. I've just felt so hyper-connected to everything. I feel overstimulated. I wake up just like wanting to check my phone. Like, I can't even like stop myself. I just want to like get away. I had done screen-free days before. On these days, I remembered being totally shaken up in my routine, but more connected to the present. It took some preparation for these days, but things felt simpler too. And each time I did this, I also slept really well the night after. These effects were intriguing, and another reason I decided to do a whole screen-free week was to expand upon them. During TV turn-off week as kids, we were to avoid watching TV, going on the computer, and also playing video games. The idea was to avoid screens. So for my screen-free week, I followed these guidelines, but I also avoided smartphones, tablets, and laptops. Technologies that I didn't have in 2005. Back then, for TV turn-off week, we were still allowed to read the newspaper and listen to the radio, so I did permit myself to do these things. We also were allowed to use house phones, but we didn't have one anymore, so I just had to make do without. Anyway, first I had to prepare. I did some things in advance, but I was definitely doing some things frantically last minute. I have, like, my calendar. I've made plans with my sister, plans with a couple of friends. I wrote down my work schedule, and I have a little calendar here. So I got it on paper. I have directions to the places we're going, like I'm going to a corn maze. I have directions to this museum I'm interested in going to that maybe I will go to. It's an option. I've printed off like 5 recipes, some song lyrics in case I just feel like singing. I even have a disposable camera so that I can take photos during the week. The photos came out kind of poorly. They were not very good. I forgot that you really need to use flash unless you're outside and it's daytime. But oh well. You will also hear audios that I recorded throughout the week. I had mixed emotions going into this. For one, I was nervous. I'm actually pretty nervous. It's a little scary. I was also excited. I've been looking forward to it all week. And without further ado, it was time to start. Goodbye internet, goodbye screens. My gosh, this is actually scary. I'm gonna turn off my phone. Whoa. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And that leaves this tablet, so goodbye. It's only been 2 hours almost, and it's been weird. It really became so clear immediately how much these electronic devices are a part of my normal daily life, and how shaken I was going to be without them. I'm sitting here thinking, and like, normally I'd be scrolling on my phone, had some food. I wasn't scrolling, I was just eating. I'm gonna probably journal quite a bit, and yeah, and then I'll just go to bed. And maybe I'll read. That's what I think I should do, is read. At first, everything felt great. I officially put the technology in a drawer and took a photo. My first photo with the disposable camera, so that's exciting. I was talking with my dad, and I caught myself saying that it feels like I'm on vacation. It feels like I'm free from everything. We were chatting for a while. I was very present. But later, after my dad went to bed, I felt loneliness. There have been moments where I feel a little lonely, because normally I'm like talking to people, or at least hearing about people on social media. And I'm like, no, it's just me. My dad's asleep. It's just me. I didn't think I would feel lonely, especially 2 hours into this. It did make sense though. Besides the adjustment of no screens, I had a major energy crash after working a double shift at the restaurant and from preparing the final things for this week. Then after talking with my dad, everything was suddenly quiet. It can feel kind of lonely, but it's also calming. The fact that this was going to be a whole week weighed a little bit on me.
I haven't been away from the internet for a week since that has become a way of life, and I'm used to being able to talk to someone at any hour of the day, and it's all of a sudden not there, and I just kind of forgot.
This morning, I woke up and obviously I didn't go on my phone and didn't go on the internet. I just journaled. This may have sounded unremarkable, but I was clearly feeling the absence of the devices. I did want to tidy up my room, and all of the papers that I printed off yesterday were kind of taking over, so I got out the old paper clips and organized them and tidied up my whole room. I might have procrastinated tidying up in normal circumstances, but it did feel good to get right to it. The lack of distractions also contributed to more besides productivity. Last night and this morning, I felt a little more emotional, and I wonder if just being away from the constant stimulation of electronics, if it gives me a chance to like sit back and think, okay, what do I actually feel?
Corn maze was very fun. So getting to the place, I had the instructions and they were perfectly adequate. They got me there, no problem.
My friend and I had planned to meet there, but I came prepared with a book in my journal in case I got there a lot earlier. As it turns out, we arrived at the exact same time. We were in sync.
In the maze, there was like a little game within it, and it was like you can scan the QR code.
So we had a fun time, but basically to access the map of the maze or the additional game within the maze that they made, you needed a smartphone. Since we mostly just wanted to leisurely stroll through the maze and enjoy the autumnal vibes, it was totally fine and we had a good time. But I definitely noticed the honestly fair assumption that everybody had a smartphone.
It was fun. It was cold. After the maze, it was on like a farm and there were chickens, so we went and saw the chickens. And then there were goats. I guess goats was the theme of the whole corn maze. Anyway, went by the goats and we fed the goats. And I've never fed goats, but it was funny. It was a lot of like the goats like licking our hands for the food we were feeding them.
After we were done with the corn maze, there was a new challenge, as we were in separate cars and we wanted to get some dinner.
Afterwards, we picked a place to go eat, and I followed my friend there because she had directions. I also had written down the instructions. And my hands were freezing. I followed my friend the whole way. No problem. It wasn't very busy. On the way home, I found that I knew the streets better and had remembered what they were all called. And yeah, I had to be more present for it. I missed one turn, but it was no big deal and I got home, no problem.
I was curious what people actually did before GPS and smartphones in these types of situations. We were in an unfamiliar area for the corn maze and in separate cars. I suppose people were more reliant on paper maps, street signs, and word of mouth. But I would imagine people just knew directions and street names better too, because you had to be more present to navigate.
I've been home. Normally when I go home, I sit in the garage and go on my phone, and I do that for like a few minutes, but I was like, I guess not today. I'll just go in the house.
Generally, leaving the technology still felt freeing, but I felt out of my element too.
Every time I go to the bathroom, for example, I'll check my phone. Or before I took a shower just now, I was waiting to go in, because normally I just put on the music and I'm so used to that, but I didn't have my phone to go on Spotify to put on the music, and I didn't want to bring a radio in there, so I just I don't know, I hesitated to go in initially because I just wasn't used to it. So anyway, just it's different. I feel since I don't have my phone, I'm thrown off physically. I feel like I'm forgetting something all the time, and because I am I'm not forgetting it, but I'm missing something that I always have, and just my way of doing things is thrown off. So I've been finding myself clinging to familiar things. I noticed it most when we went to the restaurant. We were deciding what to get. It was a pizza place, and I was just let's just get a cheese pizza, and they had an option for a double-decker crust, which was just a thicker crust. My friend and I were being indecisive, but I finally decided let's just do the normal one, cheese pizza. Normally especially the past few years, I'm always wanting to do something different, and I don't know, I really was clinging to something. And even when we were picking places to go to, I was she listed a few, and I was pizza sounds good. A very basic, safe option. And the place was good and the pizza was good. But it was just interesting how quickly I wanted to cling to something familiar. Today, there was one point in the day where I just had like a lot of ideas coming to mind, random ideas, things I could do, but also like things about myself, getting to know myself a little more too. Nothing groundbreaking, but some small things. And so I was just jotting them all down in my journal, bracketing them so that I would remember them later, or remember that what I wrote down was something I want to go back to.
It was a real strong burst of ideas, like shower thoughts on crack. I'm sure that being away from the screens helped to make it happen. Honestly, I would do a few screen-free days just for this type of idea burst in the future.
I did a little reading. When I've been eating, I've been doing the Sudoku puzzle that I got out of the newspaper that my dad gets. I've been noticing that I look out the window a little more. Today when I looked out the window and it looked like there were a lot of seasons happening in one spot, so I made sure to get a picture of that.
In many ways, it seemed like everything was different, so much so that in the moment, I felt surprised by something normally obvious. Obvious because I know myself.
One thing that hasn't changed is that I still like to have like lists and schedules, a to-do list. Like I still feel more comfortable when I have these things and I have direction like that. At first, the thought crossed my mind that I might just kind of like do what I feel like doing, which is good in some ways, but that by itself doesn't make me feel good. I notice myself sometimes being just more irritable.
The lack of technology was still throwing me off a lot on day 2.
I just don't know how much of it is just because I'm feeling off and different without the technology and stuff. At the same time, I feel more present and observant. But the fact that I was feeling irritated, like, I don't know, to me that just feels messed up. Like, that not using the technology affects me that much. Like, it's not like dramatic, but it's noticeable. To me, it's like more of a reason to continue the week without the technology. I hope I don't feel that way after a little more time. I didn't expect to feel more irritated at any point. Like I thought I'd just be more at ease and stuff. And in some ways I feel that way, but I don't know.
Without the technology, I had the will to do a classic TV turn-off week activity.
I'd put some air in the tires of my bike and did a short bike ride, like 1 mile. And yeah, that was good.
Happy to report that the being easily irritated phase maybe is over. At least today I don't feel easily irritated at all. Thank goodness. Yesterday and Monday, I felt myself like looking for my phone and wanting to reach for my phone in like transitions between activities. For example, after I brush my teeth and then I go to get dressed. I'm like, where's my phone? Just like transition times. This lack of distraction between activities kept me in motion and helped me to be more productive. Today I find myself not looking for my phone as much. I feel more like I've adjusted to not having it. I just feel more comfortable. This morning I was reading this book called Designing Your Life. I'm reading through it and it recommended doing this exercise and it wanted you to write something. So I like hand wrote. I don't remember the last time I like wrote paragraphs on like lined paper. This is a lie. I had forgotten that I journal on lined paper every single day. But I never try to edit what I have journaled. Here I was editing and using a pencil and an eraser. I was actually happy with the outcome. Maybe I should do more writing like this. I've been trying to solve the Sudoku puzzle, and apparently it's a difficult one, and yeah, I'm definitely struggling. I'm no quitter, but after lots of effort and consulting both my sister and a friend who is a Sudoku puzzle expert, I think the only option was to make a guess after a certain point, which I thought was like cheating, so I'm still proud of myself for my efforts.
Last night I saw my sister and we went to this bingo. It was Disney song bingo. I was I was wondering if they were going to make us know the song or if they were going to tell us the song.
Thankfully, they said the songs as we went. I'm definitely no Disney expert, so that was good.
It was funny. We had a good time.
This plan with my sister was also prearranged the week before. She was able to call our dad to confirm I was coming, but on the way there I couldn't update her on my timing or anything, but it was no problem.
One notable thing about today, so I read this book in February. I find the book really interesting. It's about the psychology of climate change and why, despite all the evidence, we don't act accordingly. Anyway, I reread a couple of chapters of it and I really wanted to talk about it with someone. Normally I would turn to like going online, I think, but as I don't have that, I was like, okay, maybe I can get my dad to read this. So I asked him if he would read it, just a couple chapters of the book, and he said yes. So I'm glad because I am like really wanting to talk about it with someone.
Special shout out to my dad for his part in making this week easier and more fulfilling.
Maybe this is obvious and very predictable, but there's definitely a mixture of feeling free and missing people. Now, it's been a few days, so I'm not like losing my mind missing people, but I'm like, oh, I want to message them and be like, oh, I gotta wait till Monday.
But generally, I was feeling good.
The biggest thing today, well, I worked at the restaurant, and it was the first time I worked since being off the screens. And at work, I had to look at a screen to type in restaurant orders.
I cheated. Just kidding. I mean, I knew going into this that I was going to have to use this screen at work. It didn't burn my eyes out or anything, so it's okay. Work overall was about the same as usual.
I didn't really think about it when I was at work because I'm not on my phone when I'm at work very much at all. But I was when I got home. I'm used to getting home from work and going on my phone for a while. I felt like I was missing it. It helps that I know I'm not going on it until Monday, but I definitely was wanting to like check things.
Knowing that I had a few days left made it easier to accept that this craving was not going to be satisfied right away. That helped me to move on.
Other than that, though, I haven't been thinking about it so much, and I'm getting used to not going on it constantly.
The reaching for my phone and the being irritable and feeling like I was clinging to familiarity was effectively gone at this point.
Soon I will be thinking about what I want my relationship to be with these devices after this week, because I'm going to obviously go back to using them, but I don't want it to be the same as it was. I want some sort of space from it.
I will update you with how this is going at the end of the video.
Yesterday, I went downtown to visit with a friend. She invited me to play kickball with her kickball, like, intramural team. Not a serious kickball league or anything, but it was fun. It was glow-in-the-dark kickball. We were all wearing glow sticks, and there were glow sticks around the bases. The ball glue in the dark. It was different and fun, and then we went to her place and got brownies from the supermarket. And had good chats with her and her flatmate. Meeting her, we had said like 6 o'clock. It takes a while to get to her from my house, and I didn't know exactly how long it would take because it depends on traffic and when the public transit shows up. And so I had stuff to do in case I needed to wait for a while.
My friend doesn't have a doorbell to her apartment, nor a door person who could call up. So they might just assume that everyone has a phone so they can call up themselves, but oh well. So anyway, we agreed to meet right outside her building, and I did get there a little early, so I just sat on a bench and journaled for a bit. It was good.
Going home, it was late and I didn't want to get on the public transit because of where I was and the time. So she ordered me a Lyft, which is like Uber, and I'll pay her back later. I made it home no problem and wasn't really thinking about my phone too much then either. But whenever it's like I can look up something or listen to a certain song, it's just like these things keep popping up, but they are not ruining me at all.
I had left the information age.
Today I was pretty tired, but I don't think it was related to anything about the screens. I think I just didn't sleep so well. Next week should be interesting. I don't know what it's going to be like to be getting all of these notifications and stuff, but I had this thought at the beginning of the week. I was like, oh my gosh, what if no one messages me all week? Like, I turn on my phone and stuff and I have nothing. But my sister already told me she sent me a Snapchat because she sent one to everyone, so I'm like, okay, I will for sure have something to open. Tomorrow morning I have to work, and I'm not positive that I would wake up on my own in time. I probably would, but I had to set an alarm clock that was not from a screen device. So I had to use the old, like, iHome. You can dock your iPod in there. That is an iPod with a very old, like, charging thing.
We're talking pre-lightning.
I set that, figured it out, and made sure it worked. So I've been thinking ahead a lot, especially today, about what I want to change about my normal screen time and my screen intake. And I think it would really help if I just used a real alarm clock that wasn't my phone or a tablet. Because even if I put it far away and in airplane mode, it's still out. But if I have my phone in a drawer or just somewhere else and I can use a different alarm clock, then it's just going to be much easier to avoid my phone first thing in the morning. I have times of loneliness, and I have times when I want to look up something or when I want to contact somebody.
Nothing new here.
I was talking with my sister today. She came over, and we talked and she was saying she thinks she would be down for like a screen-free day if she was with family, and they were doing it too. And I would love that, like being around other people doing it.
One thought that I had throughout the screen-free week, and even since then, is what if there was a community-wide screen-free week, or something like it? That way people could be doing it together, helping each other out, entertaining each other, and interacting more. TV turn-off week was like this, but how could it work properly today with adult participation? To what scale could it be carried out? Would anyone try to participate? If you have thoughts, let me know in the comments.
I just feel more present when I'm with the people that I'm around. Since I can't just go on my phone, I'm more willing and interested in talking to the people nearest me. Not that I am not interested in talking to the people nearest me, but I'm not getting that social interaction from technology. I'm sure I'll have more thoughts, but as of right now, I'm not wanting my relationship with technology to be exactly what it was before this week started. And I like how present I feel.
A random weird thing kept happening.
I've had random dreams where I end up going on my phone, even though I know I'm doing this challenge. So, like, I'm in the present, but it's an alternative present where I'm just, like, cheating. And it's, like, silly. Like, no one's holding me accountable except myself. And, like, I don't even need to... When I'm awake, I'm not tempted to pull out my phone and go on it.
I did make the boundary strict on myself for the screen-free week because I felt it was needed to get the experience that I wanted. But perhaps this strictness was reflected in my dreams. Oh well.
Today, I went for a long walk, and then I went for a bike ride, and I cooked one of my favorite pasta recipes. It's a pesto al pomodoro. I made it for my dad and my sister, and they liked it, and it was nice to cook for people. And then just chatted with my dad like a lot of the evening, and it was nice. It was calm. I felt tired, but in a calm way. It felt good. And now I am about to go to bed. I'm very tired. I worked all day, and there was this one table at the restaurant I worked at, and it seemed like everything was going wrong. One of the guests at the table was not nice, and a few other things happened that weren't related to that table, and my whole rhythm was thrown off, and I was pretty upset, angry, and not great.
I really had a hard time not letting this bother me for the rest of my shift.
I don't know if it would have made a difference if I had my phone or not, but I wonder if I had it, if the little distraction would have made it a little better, like seeing the outside world, getting a message maybe from a friend, or just seeing anything.
I was considering if the distraction would have helped me to reset and move on from the frustrating moment, but I also was considering the trade-off.
I've had a lot of good times this week, and I wonder if my phone would have neutralized the good times and made them a little less good. Like, if I was really into the moment, and I go on my phone and remember there's a world outside of that moment, if I would have enjoyed that moment a little less. Other than that, at work, I don't use my phone, and I just made sure not to look at the TV screens. Otherwise, things were very similar to as they would be if I had had my phone. It's definitely now been over a full exact week.
I was kind of feeling down.
I don't feel superb. I'm not feeling accomplished. I'm not feeling refreshed. I'm not feeling excited really to check everything. At times I am, but right now I'm not.
It was almost time to check my notifications. With my mood, I think it was largely because of work. It was still the night after that not so fun work shift. I normally do enjoy work and this job, but this was probably the worst shift that I've had since I moved back here. Despite my down mood, I was still feeling thankful.
I am thankful for the experiences I've had this week, the ideas I came up with, the times I felt more present with people. I appreciated the break from just like being so wired. I appreciate everything that I learned about myself. I've decided not to open up the technology until tomorrow because I just don't want to.
I was a little anxious about what I might encounter when I reopened the technology. I wasn't excited, but I also wasn't wishing I could continue for a theoretical second week of no screens.
I went for a long walk, like a couple miles, but I sat on a bench for a while. Very nice weather today, and I started like organizing and cleaning my room and stuff, and my dad suggested going out for breakfast since I was up early.
I definitely made the most of my final morning away from the screens.
What I wanted to do was go through all of my ideas that I had written down throughout the week. I updated all sorts of lists I have a potential list of content I could make. I have a post-screen free to-do list that I've been adding to for a whole week. Most importantly, what I wanted to do before I got on
The grid again was a list of things that I want to do differently than I had been before screen-free week. In hindsight, without the screens, I felt a sense of control. In an effort to keep that control, I tried to plan a plethora of routine changes to keep my screen use intentional going forward. After making this list, it was time. This is it for being off the grid. It has now been almost 3 months since my screen-free week, and I wanted to wrap up my thoughts. So, the goals of that TV turn-off week in school were to get kids playing, moving, and interacting more. And I definitely did all of those things. But I had other reasons for doing my screen-free week too. One reason was because I wanted to prove to myself and show others that it still might be possible to do such a thing in 2023. And it definitely was possible for me. Though I was nervous to start, I was never tempted to give up. To make it more possible, I happened to have the things that I needed, like printed out instructions, an alarm clock, and a job that didn't require the internet. I also had a lot of help and patience from the people around me. Long term, living the life that I want would not be possible without screens, but I'm glad that I can still be screen-free for periods of time. It makes me feel a sense of control, even if it's a false one. Another reason I did a screen-free week was because I wanted to expand upon the intriguing effects of those screen-free days that I had. Feeling shaken up, being more present, feeling like things were simpler, and better sleep. I was more shaken up than expected, but it was cool to feel fully adjusted after 2 to 3 days. I said a million times already that I felt more present. I was particularly thankful to feel so present around such good people like my friends and family. Things did feel simpler. There were fewer options for entertainment. I didn't have to worry about getting back to anyone, and I got to leave the information age. My sleep was not always that good, and I think it was from being shaken up, excited, and having those dreams that I mentioned. I also just wanted to disconnect as I had felt hyper-connected. I was certainly not hyper-connected during screen-free week. I still had ways to connect to society, like through word of mouth, through the radio, and the newspaper, but I used both the radio and the newspaper sparingly because of my goal to disconnect. Interestingly, when I did use them, they were significantly more entertaining than usual. The days following screen-free week were anticlimactic. When it was over, I was neutral about it. I wasn't in a hurry to turn on the devices. When I did get back on, I was wondering things like if I should bring my phone when I go to the bathroom, or if I should take my music when I go for a walk. There was a slight bit of readjusting. For some long-term takeaways, I did make one big change to my daily routine. Now, I wait 1 hour before I go on any screen devices, and it's going well. I'm having better mornings. I had a long list of changes that I wanted to make to my routine, but it was too much to do all at once. I don't know if TV turn-off week from when I was a kid impacted my lifestyle long-term, or anyone's lifestyle long-term, but this screen-free week will probably continue to influence my routine and lifestyle for years to come. I don't want a life without screens, but it is harder to enjoy some of the benefits I got from the screen-free week when screens are an option. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this experience. I invite you to like the video if you got something from it, and to subscribe if you want to see whatever I upload next. I'll see you soon.